Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cellular Healing TV. I'm Ashley Smith. Are you sleeping on a mattress laced with toxic chemicals? Has it been worn way past its warranty? And let me guess, it couldn't find and relieve a pressure point if your health depended on it. Today's episode is all about sleep, mattress technologies, and the toxicity of mattresses. Dr. Pompa is joined by Robert Rasmussen, who is one of the foremost authorities on how important your mattress is to getting deep, restorative sleep. Robert is an engineer, and he's the founder of Intellibed, which is the mattress that Dr. Pompa uses himself. As a special for our CHTV audience, please visit intellibed.com/Pompa to take 10% off Intellibed's Organics line of beds with free shipping and a free mattress protector. You can also call the phone number in our show notes if you prefer to speak to someone about these incredible mattresses. Just say that Dr. Pompa sent you. And practitioners, please visit intellibed.com/practitioner to open an account for your clients and patients. Okay, so let's get started and welcome Dr. Pompa and Intellibed's Robert Rasmussen to the show. This is Cellular Healing TV.
Well, Bob, welcome to Cell TV.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I just explained how excited I am about this interview. Listen, those watching, you're in for a treat because this changed my wife and I's life. It really did. I don't say that often. And I have to say, I was more than pleasantly surprised. And my wife attributes your creation to literally solving her hip pains and back pains. And I also told you this too. And we literally, I can't tell you how many times, I wish my wife were here. We get in bed and we say, oh my God, I love our bed. We love our bed. And I also told you this. I came off of probably the industry's top mattress, the Royopedic, all organic. I mean, this thing is a Ferrari. And so we didn't come from something junky. We went from that to your mattress. And I'll tell you, it has been absolutely beyond my words. I'm telling you. So in this show, folks, you're going to figure out how, you're going to at least learn why Marilee and I both had such a dramatic experience. Honestly, I cannot wait to share this with our viewers. So, Bob, we have to start with your story, though, because you're not just this business guy that fell into the mattress business. You actually 30 years as an engineer, developing these, literally cushions that change people's lives. I mean, that was what you did before you got into the mattress business. And that's kind of how you ended up in the mattress business. So kind of explain that story, because I think it's really important for people to know, how this bed was actually created.
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm thrilled to be here as well. And I hear that story. I try not to take your story for granted, right? Because I hear it all the time. This is revolutionary technology, and you're going to understand the reason why by the time we get done. And it's very, very gratifying to me to hear your story and to hear stories like that. It's the reason that I'm in business. And you're right. I've spent 30 years in high-tech cushioning. I started my high-tech cushioning career by working with medical professionals all over the country to try and understand the difficult challenge that it is to properly comfort and support the human body. And it is a lot more difficult than you think it is. Because our shapes are irregular, right? Our hips stick out further than our waist, our shoulders stick out. So what ends up happening is when we lie down, most of our body's weight is being supported by those two small areas on our hips and our shoulders. And that creates pressure points that causes us to toss and turn. And so the difficult challenge that everybody in the mattress industry has is, how do we create a surface that's going to give you proper back support and not be so firm that you're tossing and turning all night long? And so you're always in a state of compromise with these other technologies. In the past, you could buy let's just talk about what the body needs, right? The reason that you need a firm bed is because you can't allow your hips to sag into the mattress. That misalignment is the leading cause of lower back destabilization and back pain.
Yes.
And so to prevent that from happening, you need a firm surface that keeps the hips, the heaviest part of our body, our lower torso from sagging into the mattress farther than our other body parts.
And Bob, I'll say right here, you come from an engineering background. I kind of do too, because before I ended up in functional medicine, I was in structural correction chiropractic, right? So I get the position, and I can't tell you how many postures on x-ray, et cetera, we would look at that weren't correcting or got there. Immediately we started going, what's your bed like? How are you sleeping, right? Yeah. And we realized that was the biggest factor on people's, posture and how they presented structurally. And it became the biggest challenge oftentimes for fixing spine. So I totally understand what you're saying. And that is a huge challenge.
Well, and the challenge is actually getting worse, doctor, because what the trend in the industry has been for beds to get softer and softer.
Yeah.
So, for example, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, 80 to 85% of the beds that were sold had a tempered steel inner spring in it. Inner springs give the best back support because they don't sag, they don't give under the hips and shoulders. But what happened was companies like Sleep Number and Tempur-Pedic came along and tried to convince the consumer that the problem in mattresses is the inner spring. They're hard and they're uncomfortable to sleep on. But the incidence of back pain has increased substantially since these mattress manufacturers stopped putting inner springs in their beds.
Well, and logically, with the air mattress that everyone's, the dial in your number, right? The number, sleep number. Well, I mean, again, it doesn't take an engineer to realize the pressure is going to be the same under air, whereas at least with a spring, you're going to have some alteration.
Yeah. Well, and see that actually is part of the problem with these technologies is they cannot support you correctly because of the fact that our bodies are we have irregular densities throughout our bodies, right? The hips are the heaviest part of the body. So gravity is naturally trying to pull that area further into the bed.
Right.
It needs to prevent that from happening. And so if you're looking at an air mattress, for example, you equalize the pressure across the body, the hips are naturally going to sag further into the bed unless you pump that thing up really firm.
Right.
And the latest trend in the mattress industry is these beds in a box, right? So those are primarily foam core mattresses that they compress down to a fraction of their height, and then they roll them up like a sleeping bag and ship them UPS. Well, those systems like that are incapable of providing proper support because they just are too soft and they're too giving. They allowed the midsection to sag too far into the bed, which creates back pain. So we've talked a lot about positioning, but it's not the only consideration. Equally as important is the need to relieve the pressure points off the hips and shoulders. So here is the challenge of the mattress industry. The challenge is, how do you apply pressure to the hips to keep them level in the bed? Because you have to apply more pressure there than anywhere else on the body to keep that level. But then how do you relieve the pressure point that's caused by giving your proper support, right? That's the challenge.
That is the challenge.
And you can solve your back problem only to create another problem. And that other problem is now you're tossing and turning all night. Mm-hmm. So if we talk about the human sleep cycle, it takes about 90 minutes to complete a sleep cycle, right? Mm-hmm. And so as we dive into this sleep cycle, we start at stages 1 and 2, and then the most beneficial stages of sleep come in stages 3 and 4, or delta sleep. That's where the brain waves slow way down.
Right.
And that's where the body heals itself. It consolidates our memory. It strengthens our immune system against disease states. And so if you are sleeping on a bed that is too firm and causing these pressure points, then what happens is the body knows that a pressure point is going to cause a bed sore, right? Yeah. And so it will arouse you from the deeper stages of sleep and cause you to move, and thus interrupting your sleep cycle.
I have proof for you. Okay, so my wife and I both wear these rings. They're called Aura rings. And it's the most advanced technology in looking at every level, the 4 levels of sleep, right? How much deep sleep, REM sleep. And then you can go to, we have an app, and then it downloads the app, and it will tell you, sorry about that. So it will tell you, so my sleep score was a 93. Yeah. And then it told me, okay, I had REM sleep, 2 hours and 33 minutes. I had an hour and 13 minutes of deep sleep. So in other words, we're able to look at every level, how much lighter sleep you had, and when. It even shows when you get the deep sleep and the light sleep, right? Uh-huh. So my wife, who is a horrible deep sleeper, since she's been on this bed, she is now averaging an hour of deep sleep because of the bed, because of what you're saying. She's not tossing and turning as much. So it had a major impact on her deep sleep. And obviously it had an impact on her hip and low back pain.
Yes. So let me just summarize what we've been talking about. In the past, you could get a firm bed, which was great for your back and would help you eliminate your back pain. It's going to posturally support you correctly so that your hips aren't sagging into the bed. Or you could buy a softer bed that was better for your hips and shoulders. You weren't tossing and turning as much, but you would compromise your back support. The truth of the matter is that our bodies need both firm and soft at the same time, right? But the whole notion of that is crazy. How do you have something that's both soft and firm at the same time? That's like saying it's hot and cold at the same time.
But by the way, to your point, as a structural correction chiropractor in the past, we actually would recommend this bed back then that had different spring strengths in the hips and the shoulders, right? For this reason, because we identified the problem was what you said, right? We needed firm and we needed soft at the same time. But one of the problems there is people wouldn't hit the zones quite often, and people had different sizes. So it became a little problematic.
Yeah. It's difficult. I mean, it'd be much better if you didn't have to think about it, right? At night. You just want to be able to lie down and not have to worry about whether or not you are being supported correctly, whether or not you're going to have these pressure points and so forth. So when I got into the mattress industry 20 years ago almost now, it's like there's the solution to the problem in bedding is that you've got to come up with a better material than foam. Every mattress manufacturer relies on foam to cushion the human body. And there's been some minor advancements in foam. Memory foam came out nearly 50 years ago now, back in the 60s. And that has become kind of the staple in the mattress industry, this conforming foam. But the problem with foam is really that it's neither firm or soft. You can get a harder foam, which is technically more supportive, or you could get a softer foam, which is technically more pressure relieving. But none of them really function very well. And I have this little demonstration that I want to show you.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let me just grab this weight. This is a piece of plexiglass. It's 12 inches by 12 inches. And if you put that on this sample of memory foam, right, this is the most common foam that's used in the mattress industry. What happens is, under this 15-pound weight, this plexiglass sinks about to the level of the foam itself. Okay. So without bottoming out, this material will support about 15 pounds, right? So to demonstrate firm, let me show you that this is our gel matrix material, and we knew that if we were going to come up with a better bed, we needed a better material than foam.
Right, and that's what's in the Intellibed right there, the blue.
This blue material replaces most of the foam in our bed, right? And so to demonstrate how firm it is, I've got this 50-pound weight that I put on here, and the way that this material functions is that under broad surfaces of the body, these support members are designed to be very firm. So you need firm support. And so under broad surfaces like this will support about 50 pounds of weight.
Yeah, and you can see the plexiglass isn't going in at all.
Right. So so it's about 4 times more supportive, 4 times firmer than the traditional materials that are used in bedding, okay? But the way that this material behaves, that's totally different than traditional materials, is that instead of just compressing, so when something compresses and then bottoms out, it gets firmer and firmer, right? So that's when you get the pressure points on your hips and shoulders. They stick out further. Most of your weight's transferring into the mattress through your hips and shoulders. And so you're compressing those materials further, building pressure on those areas.
Right. The opposite of what you're trying to do.
Right. And that's where gel matrix is different, because these vertical support members will stand firm under broader surfaces, but under concentrated loads, what happens is they collapse.
Mm-hmm.
As they collapse, they're not capable of supporting the weight that they could before.
Right.
So firm support is what you need. This is about 4 times firmer than traditional foams. In fact, if I move that weight over here,
oh my, yeah.
what happens is it just bottoms out. Now, when it bottoms out, then you are on a rock hard surface.
Right. That pressure is very great because it's hitting the bottom, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you bottomed out here. So it's neither firm or soft. It's the opposite of what you need. It's firm when you bottom out on your hips and shoulders, causing your pressures to spike and causing you to toss and turn. What you want is something that's going to be firm on the broad surfaces of the body, but soft on your protruding body.
And by the way, that's what I noticed night one, because that's a challenge for me, because I'm thin, so I'm cut like this, but I have wide hips, you know, for a thin person, right? So it was always a challenge. So what would happen is my hips would sink, but I would get no support when I was on my lumbars, either on my back or on my side. Mm-hmm. So it was like either one, I would get no support in my lumbar region. So if I was on my side, my lumbars would bend, which is the worst. When I was on my back, it would get no support, and it would create almost like a sag. So it was like a lose-lose for me. I always thought, gosh, if I could just stuff a pillow, you know, above my hip to support my lumbar. Of course, that's not realistic, but I found myself wedging blankets in it at night. Since I got the mattress, is like zero. It's so different.
Yeah, yeah. And that's really the breakthrough of Intellibed, this gel matrix material. I turned this weight on the side now to show you that
the camera up again.
If you have concentrated loads, right? Tilt that.
Back it up just a little more. Okay, right there, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have concentrated loads like the hips and shoulders, these support members just collapse, right? Allowing those areas to sink in deeply. And everything else is supported horizontally.
Yeah, so like if you, like you said, if the one side of the weight was my shoulders and the other side was my hip, they're sinking in, and now I'm actually getting support in between of my spine, which I wasn't before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So in terms of what a mattress needs to do for you, the fact that you need both firm and soft simultaneously, because we use a material that is exclusive to Intellibed, there's nobody in the industry that can provide the level of support that you need for your back and the level of comfort that you need so that you're not tossing and turning all night long than Intellibed. There's nobody that can do it.
And by the way, you developed this because you were solving hospital solution or problems, meaning that people that obviously were developing bed sores, you had to relieve pressure. I mean, isn't that really how it came into existence?
Yeah, well, I worked for the company that developed this. It's a research and development company that I worked for 5 or 6 years with these guys, and the two main inventors were really genius inventors. I worked with them and then licensed the technology from them, and Intellibed was born. But I saw immediately the benefit of this, and so acquired the exclusive rights to it and began building beds. I engineered all the beds and designed them, and really what I learned is it's not just about the gel matrix material. You have to combine that material with other materials that are more traditional to the mattress industry in order to really solve all these problems. So one of the things, for example, that all of our beds have, we don't have any beds that have foam core in them. So what I mean by that is most of the latex beds, most of the organic beds, the Tempur-Pedics of the world, they all have, instead of an inner spring, they have a polyurethane foam core, and then the memory foam is on top of that. The problem with those materials is that foam breaks down so quickly, you lose support. After 2 to 3 years, our testing shows that those beds are incapable of giving you the back support that you need. So what happens is, as the foam breaks down more in the center of the bed, because that's where the heaviest part of your body is, right? As it's breaking down, then your hips are sagging further and further into the bed, so that after just a couple of years, that bed doesn't feel like anything like it did when you first brought it home.
Yeah, that's what happened to us. I mean, no doubt. We were flipping it, rolling it, spinning it. I mean, because the materials broke down. I mean, obviously. I could even see it, you know, so.
Yeah, well, all of us have experience with the body impressions in the top of our bed. That's just the materials that are in the bed breaking down. So, you know, an effort to make the bed softer and softer, that impacted the durability of the products. And so that really leads into the next thing that's really important in a bed, and that is the durability issue, right? When you go buy a bed at the mattress at the mattress store down the street, it's so frustrating and so difficult, because it's impossible for you to evaluate really some of the most important things that you need to evaluate. One of those is, how long is this bed gonna perform like new, right? Because if you buy a bed and after just a couple of years it's lost its ability to support and comfort you, then, you know, obviously you've made a mistake, and you can spend easily $10,000 like you did and have the bed not be able to function for you after just a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course they say just flip the bed and you gain another 2 years.
Yeah, it doesn't, you know that it doesn't work like that, right?
Oh, I was flipping it, all right. I was trying everything.
All of our beds, we use a tempered steel inner spring, because inner springs give you the best back support. They're the best system out there at preventing your hips from sagging into the bed. And then, but the problem is inner springs are uncomfortable, right? They will create pressure points on the hips and shoulders. And that's where the gel matrix material comes in, right? So the gel matrix takes advantage of the inner spring's ability to give you good back support, and then it relieves the pressure points that the springs would cause if the gel matrix weren't there, and just totally relieves those pressure points so that you get a very even distribution of pressure. So the reason that your wife is sleeping so much better than she did before is because we relieved her pressure points. And less pressure means that your body, your brain is not waking your body up to roll over and relieve those pressure points.
You know, and there's two health components here that people have to understand. I mean, we briefly talked about, you know, when people aren't getting enough restorative deep sleep, they're not recovering, right? So you need recovery to recover from illness, just to recover even if you're perfectly healthy. Athletes, they do everything to get deep sleep, everything, because deep sleep is how you recover fast. And if you're in a disease state, it's the same thing. You know, you lack deep sleep, so therefore recovery becomes problematic. So, you know, people don't understand how important it is not to toss and turn, and how that affects that knocking you out of that deep sleep. Yeah. So, you know, this is a health issue. And from another aspect, from a toxic issue, beds are some of the most toxic things on the planet. You mentioned the memory foams. Well, they're made from very toxic chemicals that release something called a VOC, a volatile organic compound that you're breathing for 8 hours a night. Hopefully you're in bed for 8 hours, but you know, you're breathing that, and it is absolutely devastating to your health. So talk about the toxicity component or non-toxicity component of your bed.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So when we designed these beds, there were several considerations that we factored into the design. And certainly one of our top priorities was to create a non-toxic bed. And usually when people look for a non-toxic option, they do what you did. They find an organic bed, right?
Yep.
The problem with organic beds is, like so many other beds out there, you solve one problem but create another problem. The problem that you solved is now you know that there are no dangerous VOCs coming off of the bed, but our experience shows that the organic beds are just not durable enough. So after a couple of years, you lose your support, you lose your comfort, and you've solved a problem that created another big one. You spent a ton of money on that thing, and all of a sudden, after just a couple of years, you need to replace it.
Yeah.
So every component that goes into our Intellibed mattresses have been carefully vetted for toxicity. The beautiful thing about this gel matrix material, it's been one of the most heavily tested materials in terms of toxicity that's ever come in the mattress industry. We've done cytotoxicity tests and hemolysis tests. We've used VOC meters to determine what kind of VOCs are coming off there, and even used them on our production line to determine what kind of VOCs we're producing. And the fumes, if we can call them that comes off the production line itself when this stuff is being produced is lower than the VOC readings that I get in my office.
Wow.
It's completely non-toxic. We use a food grade mineral oil material as the main ingredient in the gel matrix material. And so it's edible. You could ingest it without any health benefits. And one of the beautiful things about these gel matrix mattresses, when you get an Intellibed, is there's almost no odor.
Yeah, there was zero. There was zero.
You take the bed off, and the first night you're sleeping on it, there is a slight odor from the water-based adhesive that we use, but that very quickly dissipates. There's nothing toxic in the bed. And so it's among the safest mattresses that are out there. We like to say that it's going to be as safe as your organic bed. It's not traditionally the organic material because mineral oil is a highly refined, non-toxic oil. So it doesn't fall under the category of organic in the traditional sense of the word. Our focus has been on non-toxic.
Yeah, well, and that's look. I don't need to eat it, but I want non-toxic. I want no VOCs, right? You know, and that's really what the problem is with modern day mattresses. Is
that's right.
I mean, they're loaded with toxins. The VOC. I mean, you could smell. Walk in a mattress store. You know, it's like when I was sick, I couldn't. I would sleep on mattresses. I would have to put things down when I would like travel in hotels because I couldn't deal with it if there was a new mattress, and I knew right away. So I was very chemically sensitive, so it was a big deal for me.
Yeah. So the toxicity issue, it's a big issue, and you're right. I mean, if you're trying to detoxify your home, one of the first places to start is with your mattress.
Yeah.
Because it's a serious source of.
Well, and then there's another component to that surface is. When you look at what happens at night, you sweat, and you have another ingenious thing that that helps protect. But basically, mattresses become more and more contaminated from a biotoxic standpoint. Meaning our biology, starts to really affect it, and it becomes a toxic bacteria, fungus problem. Whereas you don't face that with this.
No. Yeah, well, the beds themselves are completely non-toxic, and we have options. We have a mattress protector that is designed to work in harmony with the gel matrix material, so that it keeps all of that bad stuff out of the bed. And you just pull that off every once in a while, throw it in the washing machine. Keeps the dead skin out, so you don't have problems with dust.
Yeah, and I love that because that's a big issue, like I said, from a biotoxic standpoint. But the other thing too is that people might be thinking, oh, isn't that material hot, etc. But it's the opposite. We've noticed there's actually kind of a cooling effect. So why is that? And how?
Well, the reason is because foams are insulators, right? So insulators will trap your body heat against your body, and that's why you sleep so hot on some of these, especially a really dense foam like memory foam. You sleep hot on those because it just reflects the heat back to your body.
And by the way, people don't understand, this measures body temperature at night. That app I was talking about, or the ring. And that, because that's a big deal. If your body temperature raises during that, that affects your deep sleep.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, you'll wake up sweating. So there are a lot of what I call sleep robbers out there. Temperature is one of them, right?
yeah.
You sleep too cold, you sleep too hot, then it's going to wake you up and rob you from the deep, restful sleep that you need. And so another important consideration is this notion of being temperature neutral. That's what I like to say. It does sleep cool. If you're a hot sleeper, you won't sleep as hot on this. If you're a cold sleeper, you won't sleep as cold on this material because it's very, very temperature neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because it doesn't, first of all, it's massively ventilated, right? So you can see all the holes in there. It does a great job of dissipating the heat and building airflow within the bed itself. But then the other thing is that the material itself is a natural conductor of heat. So instead of being an insulator, it's a conductor. So the heat will travel away from you and maintain a very constant temperature when you sleep. Okay. So really, you know, we've talked about really the 5 key things that you need to take into consideration when you're buying a bed. First of all, is it going to support my back properly? Secondly, am I going to get the pressure relief that I need? So the notion of both firm and soft at the same time. It needs to be durable so that in 2 years, it's still giving you this consistent level of comfort and support that you need. Ours is the only bed in the industry that offers a 20-year non-prorated warranty. And the reason for that is because the materials that we use have been carefully vetted for their durability. This gel matrix material over 20 years will change less than 5%. And whereas most foams will change over the first 2 to 3 years, as much as 40 to 50%.
Well, look, even the best mattresses say get a new mattress every 5 years, right? And some people lie and say 10, flip it, that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous because you're right. It breaks down after 2 years, even the best ones.
So durability, non-toxicity, and the fact that it's temperature neutral. Those are really the 5 top considerations when you're buying a bed. And the beautiful thing about what we've done with these gel matrix beds, these Intellibeds that feature this gel matrix material, is we're really the best at all of those things. It is the best at firm and soft simultaneously. It is non-toxic. It is durable. It sleeps cool. And the other thing that we've done is we've created a bed that provides almost no motion transfer. So
I was going to say that we noticed that difference for sure. Like I can bounce around on my side, she doesn't move.
Exactly. And so that's another sleep robber, right? If every time your spouse turns over, you're waking up, then you've got this sleep robber that's keeping you from getting the deep restful sleep that you need. So,
well, there's actually another benefit. This is an option that you sell, but man, I totally recommend it. So we have the what do you call it? The thing that holds the mattress. Yeah. So it obviously we can push it up at night, and we find ourselves now we're actually in our bed a lot more. I can tell you that because we watch movies or we read, now before bed. And so we pick it up and read. You can raise the feet up, which actually helps people that have inflammation and edema. Yes. You can raise the head up. Now, one of the cool things is, and this is one of my wife's favorite things, is you hit flat and then the bed goes down, but it decompresses your back. Yep. So, I mean, it's like I've used a lot of decompression units. And I'm telling you, it's remarkable. I mean, it's
surprisingly effective.
It's really effective. I mean, and it's just using your body weight, but it decompresses your discs, and it's really effective. And I absolutely love that aspect of it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Every one of our beds will function well on an adjustable base. And the beautiful thing about an adjustable base, especially if you have some type of an ailment that is preventing you from getting good sleep at night, is now you have an additional set of adjustments that you can use to find the comfort and support that you need. And it's going to support you correctly in any of those positions. That's a beautiful thing about it, right? If you like to read in bed, for example, you prop a bunch of pillows up behind your back. Now you're slouching down for that period of time that you're reading. You're not being supported correctly.
Yeah.
It's not the case with one of these adjustable bases. It's regardless of what you're doing, if you prop yourself up, you're still going to get the proper support that you need so that we eliminate stresses on the spine. So
It's great. And I have to say this for my viewers, because one of my concerns was the EMF component, because there's an electrical component if you choose that option. And I wanted the option, right? But with my instruments, I couldn't pick anything up. And then we had someone else do a measurement with it on. Of course, I have it so I can turn it off anyway. I can turn it on and off, if I desire to. And it was a minimal reading with it on, because you can measure electric current. So, but anyways, I still have the option to turn it off. But anyways, that's just something that people will ask, is there more of an electrical EMF component to it? So I looked at that.
We had the same thing. We had a study that we came across. People were worried about the fact that you have inner springs that are coiled inside the bed, and is that generating EMF? And there was absolutely no indication of any EMFs from these inner springs. So we're pretty confident that that is not an issue with these beds. And the benefits that you're going to get from these far outweigh the very, very minimal, if any, risk that there would be from any EMF.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not producing it. I think their concern would be that it's picking up an EMF, right, and making it higher. I measured it. I mean, it's just not there. Is there any? I mean, have you done any studies with the bed? I mean, I did my study, right, my little independent study. But I mean, have you done any studies with larger groups of people, like measuring their deep sleep, restorative sleep?
We had a study done by a Stanford-trained sleep doctor down in Las Vegas. His name's Dr. Robert Kroll, and we talk about this study quite a bit. But he's been so busy, he hasn't had a chance to publish it. But what he did was he took he's got a typical sleep lab, and if any of you who have sleep apnea, have gone in for a evaluation, right? You sleep on the bed, they wire you up with all the wires. To look at both your brain waves, and then they measure the number of times that you're waking up at night. And he did this where he had a Tempur-Pedic, a Sleep Number, and one of our gel matrix beds in there. And so he would actually wire them up and evaluate how much time they were spending asleep and in deep restful sleep. He calls that sleep efficiency, the amount of time sleeping compared to the amount of time down in the delta stages of sleep, right? And he said categorically that the Intellibed proved to be the best bed that he tested in terms of providing the deep restful sleep compared to these other sleep systems. And
yeah, I mean, you could do your own cheap, get 10 people with these rings and do the same study. It's very accurate, the rings. So itid be interesting.
Yeah,
I
know you've not done that yet.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So
I have to say, all of my good friends in this industry, I mean, it's like my CEO, Warren, my partner in my seminar business. I mean, we all have these beds, right? A guy who does business coaching for us. We all love them, man. It's like, so, and so many of our doctors now are getting them, right? We're all like, once one of us gets one, then we all start boasting. And there was just a thing on our chat thing. The doctors, you're raving about your beds, by the way. So, and then Ben Greenfield, who's a good friend of mine, has been on this show, and me on his. He has one. Who did you mention else? Drew.
Drew Manning.
Yeah, Drew Manning. But who else? Kathy Smith. Who, I could go down a list of people who've been on this show that have Intellibed. So you all have done a really good job of getting it out to us health professionals who care about their deep sleep.
We believe in what we're doing, and also we want to be a research-based company, right? We want to work with professionals who understand, like we've tried to do, the challenges that people face. And if you're not sleeping well, I mean, that's the first thing that you should do to try to correct your problem, is figure out how to sleep better.
Oh yeah.
So many problems are just going to go away when you're supported correctly at night and you're getting the stages 3 and 4 of sleep that you need. Most of the autoimmune diseases, things like heart disease and diabetes, are all linked to poor sleep at night. And specifically the fact that we're not getting the delta sleep that we need, stage 3 and 4 of sleep. So anything that we can do to increase the potential for better stage 3 and 4 of sleep, anything that we can do to increase that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about, light before bed screens, it depletes melatonin, people wear blue blockers, etc. And there's some truth to that, but I'm telling you, the mattress has a far greater impact on your deep sleep. It really does. It really does.
Unfortunately, and I don't really understand the reason why, it's one of the last things that people think of.
Yeah.
Until they get to the point where they're so broken down and so desperate that they start thinking, well, maybe it is my mattress.
Yeah.
Most of the mattresses that we sleep on today, especially in my opinion, all of the foam core mattresses, like the Tempur-Pedics, the air mattresses that allow you you're not adjusting your comfort. What you're adjusting is your support.
Yeah.
The less air you have in there, the less support that you're going to get. And your hips are going to be the first thing to sag into the bed.
Yeah, it just does that. Yeah.
Most of the beds that we're sleeping on cannot possibly give you the right sleep that you need in order to maintain your health. And I think that's the reason why so many medical professionals, they understand the importance of good sleep, like yourself.
Yeah.
And they know that it's the place to start. So as soon as they find a product that's going to deliver that, then it's not difficult to get them to jump on the bandwagon.
No, look, and you gave our viewers and listeners a great opportunity, 10% off, which is a big deal for what you guys do and usually do, and then also the free shipping. And
Yes.
We'll put a link below, and Ashley will make sure that that's provided so everyone can get the 10% off. And if worse comes to worse, you can't find the link and you tell a friend, tell them you saw it here on Cellular Healing TV with Dr. Pompa. But and they'll give you the 10% is the point. But thank you for doing that. We always ask that people do that when we bring a product.
Let me just mention also, you talked about the 10% off. We're also going to throw in one of these free mattress protectors that we talked about earlier. And then and if you just go to intellibed.com/Pompa, very easy. Intellibed.com/Pompa. There's a landing page there that explains the details. There's a little more information on there. There's our toll-free number, and I want to really pump up our call center here. We have well-trained sleep experts that know. We offer 3 different models. We don't often recommend our most expensive model. It might not be right for you. So you might have questions about which bed is right for you. And these people are well-trained to help to understand what specific problems that you have and recommend the right bed for you. And then we offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. So you're not going to get the bed and need to worry about the fact that if it doesn't work for you. And, honestly, it doesn't work for everybody. Some people expect a miracle cure. I can say this without hesitation, though, that if there is a bed out there that will help you, this is the bed.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes we have a medical condition, right, that it doesn't matter what we sleep on, it's not going to solve that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, the beds they're not cheap, but they're also very valuable because of the fact that these things are going to last for 20 years.
In the long run, it's actually for their regular bed. I believe me.
We offer financing, so we can help you with financing if that's an issue. It's no interest financing, so use our money and get the sleep that you need.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in the long run, when you look at how often you really need to replace mattresses, it is cheaper. So, and I think worth every penny. But again, I always put my health first. That's just what I do. Right. Well, thanks, Bob. It was just great show. We've been doing a lot of shows about sleep, and so I had to do this show. So thanks for being here. I appreciate
the invitation to do it.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Well, that's it for this week. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to check out Intellibed.com/Pompa to take 10% off Intellibed's Organics line of beds with free shipping and a free mattress protector. You can also call the phone number in our show notes if you prefer to speak to someone about these incredible mattresses. And practitioners, don't forget to visit Intellibed.com cellularhealing.com/practitioner. We'll be back next week and every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We truly appreciate your support. You can always find us at cellularhealing.tv, and please remember to spread the love by liking, subscribing, giving an iTunes review, or sharing the show with anyone who may benefit from the information heard here. And as always, thanks for listening.